Hey, welcome. Welcome to our show here tonight. Welcome to We'll Sing and We'll Shout. This is always so much fun. Um, don't you think so? I
Yes.
this is like David Letterman back in the day, except except we get to do the show.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, so I am your host, Steve Hansen, and I have my faithful associate here, my sister Cheryl. Um, and tonight we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about Charlie's Angels. And I think Cheryl would agree that this played a decent role in our young lives.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I guess it did have a big influence.
but before we do that, let me touch on a few other things. Um, so yeah, I've covered up the Footloose poster tonight. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm broadcasting this out to my commercial channel,
Oh, gotcha.
and and I want to see if that was what was causing the Facebook flags. I'm almost certain that it is what it was, but I just want to confirm.
Okay.
So that's what I got going on. So I started my fast at 4:30. I had a really good week uh, up until I had that 11 o'clock surf and turf issue there the other night, and then the rest of the week, not so great, not as good. But Tuesday and Wednesday were really, really good days for me, and then Thursday kind of blew everything up. But I'm going to jump right back on the horse. I started my fast at 4:30. I'm drinking my una mate.
Yep.
Um, had my balance earlier today. So we actually went out to Eagle Mountain, which is half hour, 45 minutes away here to go to church this morning because a friend of ours, actually an employee, a guy that works with me, his son came home from his mission this past week from Phoenix, Arizona, speaking Spanish. He came home, so we went out there to kind of support that family. They are from Chile, and they've been here 8 or 9 years. And so they have this oldest son, Matthias, and then they have three daughters, triplet daughters, who
Wow.
are best friends with Ellen. And so that's kind of fun. But Eric has been working with me as an employee, sometimes as a sub, but now he's kind of my company president. He's kind of running things, and so in some ways I kind of work for him, except when I disagree with him, and then I, as the owner, take over and say, no, actually, we're going to do it this way. So, so that's kind of how that works.
Hmm.
So Matthias is up there giving. So this ward that we went to today was all Spanish speaking, and nobody in my family except Adelaide, who didn't come along, speaks Spanish. So they were going to get the translation headsets ready for us, and we popped things on. Mine has a dead battery, and but nobody else is working. Like nothing's coming through.
Hmm.
And so after the sacrament, they realized that nothing was working for us. So they were like, "Oh, hit this button, in the battery compartment to kind of like sync it up." So they do that, and the meeting goes on. Well, all that did was bring the Spanish in louder. It still wasn't in English. So nobody in the family understood anything at church day, but it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good to be there. But they did present Matthias with his plaque, and the little plaque that has a picture of the missionary and then it has a scripture.
Hmm.
And it reminded me of my kids all got one of those plaques, and Victoria, was a recent missionary for us. Went to Jacksonville, Florida. When she went out, she chose to have the same scripture that Catherine did, which is 3rd Nephi chapter 5, verse 13. And it's short, so let me just read this. It says, "Behold, I am a disciple of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I have been called of him to declare his word among his people, that they might have everlasting life." So that's a really good missionary scripture. I think you'd agree.
Hmm.
Here's where things got a little funny. Whoever was doing these somehow misinterpreted the assignment and put down First Nephi chapter 5, verse 13, which is a completely random scripture.
Hmm.
And it
And
says,
so
and
is that
also,
what's on her plaque?
well, that was what was on her plaque for
Uh-huh.
a long time until, she was on her mission when this plaque went up, in the church, and she doesn't get it till she gets back home.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at this plaque at the church here. This was a couple years ago, but First Nephi chapter 5, verse 13 says, "And also the prophecies of the holy prophets from the beginning, even down to the commencement of the reign of Zedekiah, and also many prophecies which have been spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah." Just a totally
Just
random
random.
verse that
Yeah.
has no meaning to missionary work
Right.
and doesn't really say anything.
Right.
That's what somebody put on her plaque. And
Right.
so I'm standing there at the hall at church and I'm reading this because Victoria doesn't like come and talk to me about her favorite scripture. I'm not that involved in their little world. And so this ends up on the plaque and I'm looking at that. I'm just like, what the heck does that mean? And why would somebody why did Victoria choose that? I guess
I have the funniest story about a mistake in scripture, but go ahead.
maybe she just likes Zedekiah, or maybe she's really into the words spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah. Like, I can't figure this out. So I'm talking to Heidi about it, and Heidi's looking at it like, that doesn't seem right. So so we got to the bottom of it and realized that he was just in the complete wrong book.
Right.
Got that sorted out so that when she did get home, she did get the right scripture on her plaque.
Oh, that was good.
But anyway, tell me about your story there.
All right. Well, my son Josh was named after Joshua from the Bible. And so one of my favorite scriptures is about me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's Joshua 3:5, maybe. So, but as for me and my choose you this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Right. So I even have that cross stitched. I saw it in my storage unit in Bellevue yesterday. I cross stitched it for my wall in my home, and so that's one of the reasons that Josh got it. The name he got was because I love that scripture. So one day at church, Josh was probably 7 years old. They said Josh was in charge of reading the scripture for primary that day. So Josh was like, "Mom, what scripture should I read?" So I wrote it down for him. And when he got into primary, he looked up the scripture and he went up to read it. And the scripture that he read said something about cutting off fingers and toes or something like that. I can find it in Joshua for you, but it's something, oh my gosh, it's just hysterically funny. And they cut off his big toe and they cut off his fingers. And so Jessica comes to me after primary and goes, "This is Josh's favorite scripture about cutting off toes?" No, that is not the scripture he was supposed to read. He was supposed to read Joshua 3:5 or whatever it is about, who shall you serve. Yes. So I gotta look that up for you and find the exact reference because it was our.
I just looked it up. It's Joshua 24:15. Didn't Mom have that same thing cross stitched? And wasn't there something in our home growing up about the same?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Joshua 20.
Okay, look up Adonai Bezek. That's the name of the guy that had his fingers and toes cut off or something. See if you can find that. Adonai Bezek. That's.
I wouldn't even know how to spell that.
Adoni.
You have to remember, I just barely made it out of Bellevue High School.
And it's in Joshua. It might even be on that same page in the scripture.
There he is. Okay, Adonai Bezek. Look at that.
All right, now look. Now check out the scripture reference.
Joshua 1:4-7 is what this is showing. You want me to go find this, huh?
Well, I'm just curious if you can find the one about the cutting off the fingers and toes or something.
Right. Okay. Well, you keep talking while I'm searching.
All right. Well, the primary president she just thought our family was screwy. So on the way home, Josh says to me, "Mom, that was a really weird scripture you had me read in primary." So I said, What are you talking about? Read it out loud to me." So Josh read it out loud, and our whole family was in tears, laughing that Josh had actually read that in primary.
Right.
Oh golly. Like cutting off his big toes, or just the weirdest scripture reference.
I'm not finding that.
All right. Quick. I'm going to grab my scriptures and you can talk while I see if I can find it. So what's the other one about whom shall ye serve or whatever? Which one is that? Joshua 14?
Oh, 24,
24. Okay, because I know it's
20
close to that one. That's how Josh got confused.
24:15.
24:15. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll find it. You talk.
But okay, so tonight, I'm sure we're gonna have a million people jumping in here to hear this discussion about Charlie's Angels. And I just looked this up. Charlie's Angels debuted on September 22nd of 1976,
Okay.
which is crazy to me because I was 10 years old.
So that was
Uh,
50 years ago.
I had just turned 10 years old on September 4th. So, and I don't know how quickly you and I caught on to this, but I do know that we were watching it when Farrah was there, and she
Yes.
was only there for like the first season or two. Um, how long did Farrah last down
Farrah was
there?
only on it for maybe 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yep.
So, but uh, but when did you start putting Farrah's posters? Or not you? You didn't have posters, but you had a lot of Farrah pictures,
I
and I don't
had,
really.
yeah, I actually did have a couple of posters too. I started putting her posters on my wall in my bedroom, and it was like the little Tiger Beat magazine
Yeah,
pictures. So they were
yeah,
8 by 11, and I had them all the way around the top of my room, like wallpaper, a whole bunch of
right.
different ones. And I just thought she was the most beautiful woman on the planet. And I loved her hair. And it wasn't any sort of a gay thing. It was just, I was just really thought she was awesome.
Yeah,
So
and you didn't really
I,
have like bikini pictures or swimsuit pictures. These were
no,
just
no. And I didn't
basic.
even have that big poster with a red
Yeah,
swimsuit.
right.
I didn't have that on my wall, but I just had pictures of her with her beautiful hair and smile. And she probably had the best teeth on the planet too. I mean, that woman, she
Yeah.
was like some school in Texas University or something other. She was their homecoming queen. So obviously a lot of other people had noticed it before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She was a unique beauty for sure.
Hmm.
She had a unique look, and wasn't she getting paid like $10,000 an episode where the others were getting five?
Yeah, she was
Uh,
getting paid more than they were, which kind of made them mad.
yeah, yeah. But of course, she was the big draw. I mean, she was the one that brought in the fans there.
Right.
Um, so here's kind of what I remember, and I'm interested to kind of get your perspective on this. And I know that like we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but let's kind of review it again. One of the things that I remember when we started watching Charlie's Angels was that Mom was not very excited about this, and I really think that it wasn't because she was intimidated by the angels being so beautiful or something, because I think she just kind of thought they were maybe average. But I think what
Right.
really bothered Mom a lot was that um, and let me just back up and say this: not only was Farrah Fawcett really beautiful, she was actually pretty darn smart. She was really
Right.
pretty intelligent.
Yeah, she actually
But
became a really good actress after Charlie's
but
Angels. She did some things where she won some major awards. So
but she played but the role that she played on Charlie's Angels, she was pretty ditzy and acted airheaded a lot of the times. And when you
yeah,
go
she
back and
did.
watch these things, it really is. I mean, she just comes across as a total airhead.
Yep.
And but the other thing that she did was she was braless, like she was just always sticking out all the time.
Right.
And I think that was the thing that Mom really found offensive. And when Farrah was doing that, then often Jacqueline Smith was doing the same thing. Now you never saw that with Kate Jackson, at least that I recall. I don't think Kate was into that whole
No,
thing.
I don't think Kate was quite as bouncy as the other two, but part of it was
True,
she was just smaller up top.
yeah, but that doesn't make it any less pointed. But yeah, so I think that's what really bothered Mom, but it didn't seem to bother Dad as much. And well, Mom really didn't think we needed to be watching that show. Fortunately for us, Dad, if we want to look at it that way, fortunately for us, Dad, overruled her and let us watch
Let
it.
us right.
And and sure, I guess I would say that I think that was not necessarily the beginning of a lot of strong feelings and differences between them, but I think it was just one more feather in the cap of, we have different feelings about morality
Right.
and those kind of issues, and that was just another one that kind of drove that whole thing home.
Right.
to Dad this was okay, and to Mom it wasn't.
Yeah.
And you and I, of course, we're all
Oh,
in
I
Dad's,
watched it every week.
because we're all in Dad's camp because we want to watch Charlie's Angels, and your
Right.
interest in watching Charlie's Angels was slightly different than my interest.
Yeah, mine was more like the styles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I wanted to see the hair and the clothes
but
they were wearing and stuff like that.
and so when Cheryl Ladd started showing up, I would have been 12 years old, and I really like Cheryl is my favorite, not just because of the name, obviously,
Hmm.
but Cheryl was my favorite Charlie's Angel. And the other thing I'd say about Cheryl Ladd is she never did the braless thing.
No, she
Like
was way classier, and
she,
she still looks good though. She's an older lady, but she I think she
yeah,
looks the best of the ones that are left.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Hmm.
She brought a class and a style to Charlie's Angels that wasn't there before.
Right.
And even though Pharaoh had her own unique beauty and was truly a beauty, she brought us a class and a style that I think even exceeded Pharaoh's in my mind.
Yeah.
But and so I was a big fan of Cheryl Ladd's. It was funny. So the reason why Charlie's Angels has kind of come up in my mind recently is I joined a Facebook uh, group that kind of circles around Charlie's Angels, and
Oh.
so they'll post little clips from different shows and little things about.
Oh yeah, it's just so cornball when you go back. I have watched it,
Oh
in the
yeah,
last year I've watched a few episodes and it's just hysterically funny. Me and Martin will be like, as a joke night, let's watch Charlie's Angels. And it's
yeah,
just so,
the plots and everything. I mean, it all circles about how can we get these girls in a bikini. In
oh
fact, I
yeah.
wanted to let me read what Google has as an overview here. It's pretty short here. It says the show was ushered in the phrase "jiggle TV." I think we understand where that comes from. Features three beautiful police academy trained private detectives whose cases always seem to require that they don bikinis, evening gowns, or other sexy clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Now see,
so
that's
yeah,
why I was watching to see the clothing.
so that was spot on because for some reason these detectives needed to look cute and sexy in order to get their jobs done.
Right.
Um, but let's see, where was I going with this? What was I going to say
Well,
next
we were
here?
talking about Cheryl Ladd and the fact that you liked her the best
But
and she was
but
classier than the others.
oh, so on this Facebook group about Charlie's Angels, there was this one thing. Jacqueline Smith was talking or something, and I guess Aaron Spelling was the director or the producer of
Yep.
Charlie's Angels, and Jacqueline was saying that anytime the ratings would start to drop, Aaron would say, "Okay, we've got to get Cheryl in a bikini," and
Uh-huh.
that's how they would get ratings pulled back up.
Oh,
Now,
Jiminy.
what's so funny about that is I remember those commercials advertising the upcoming Charlie's Angels show for the week, and there was this one where Cheryl Ladd was going to be in this bikini, and so knowing that was coming up, of course, I wanted to make sure we caught that episode because we didn't
Hmm.
necessarily catch every single episode,
No.
but we were pretty darn regular. But I wasn't
I
going to
mean,
miss that one, and you
sometimes
and I
we were
got
at the
those.
fair or we were out doing stuff with the cattle or doing hay or whatever.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so I made sure I had my zip camera, and I wanted to get a
Snap a few
Polaroid
pictures.
zip of Cheryl in this bikini, so that I would have this. Because back in the days, like you didn't have the internet,
No. And
and
you couldn't screenshot.
you couldn't screenshot, and you
Yeah.
weren't necessarily gonna. This wasn't going to show up in your magazine that you were getting. So it's like I've got to get this picture. So I did. I tried to. I snapped this picture, but for whatever reason, the Polaroid zip did not pick up the image off the TV.
Oh,
All I
off
got
the
was a picture of
TV.
a TV. I
Ah,
didn't. The image
that's
didn't
so
come across.
disappointing.
So, and I don't understand. Somebody smarter than me could explain why that doesn't work that way. But with TVs back in the day, but I did not get my picture of Cheryl Ladd. But what's kind of
Hmm.
funny is I have seen that same. I have seen that same episode here show up recently on this Facebook thing. So it just reminded me of that. And when Jacqueline said that about Aaron Spelling saying, okay, the ratings are dropping, we've got to get Cheryl in a bikini. But
Hmm.
apparently Cheryl Ladd put her foot down and said, look, I am not wearing bikinis unless there's water nearby.
Right.
There has to be water. Like I'm not just going to put my bikini on and walk into the office.
Right.
So she's like, I'm a mother. She has, a daughter. And so
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I'm somebody's mother. I'm not going to just stroll around in bikinis all the time just to get ratings up. So if you're going to have to write a script around water in order to get me to do this. So if you'll notice, whenever Cheryl is in a bikini, there is appropriately water nearby.
Oh, that's good.
So that's
I used to do my hair like Cheryl Ladd's. I really
right,
liked the way she like kind of had it pulled up at the top with barrettes. And so, everybody tried to do the Farrah Fawcett hairdo, and very few people succeeded.
right,
But I was able to do my hair like Cheryl Ladd's, and I did wear it like that quite often in at the end of my high school years and my beginning of my college years.
right.
So, yeah, her hair was stunning.
One of the things that dawned on me here recently, Cheryl, is Cheryl Ladd is 5'4". I didn't even think about this here until just recent weeks, months, whatever. Heidi is 5'4".
Uh huh.
And if you look at Cheryl Ladd's facial features and her structure, um, Heidi and Cheryl don't look exactly the same by any means, but there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
There are a lot of similarities in their body makeup and their
And
facial
Heidi's always
structure.
had that beautiful hair.
Yeah, in their hair. I mean, it was stunning to me when I looked at that and just thought that is so wild. I
Yeah.
married somebody who looks a lot like Cheryl Ladd,
Yeah. That makes
and
sense.
it was just like, wow, that's so crazy how
Yeah.
those things work. Um, one of the things that happened when you had all those pictures up in your bedroom, the Seneca County Fair plays back into this, because when I would go over to the um, what do you call that part of the fairgrounds where the rides are, the midway?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right? When I
Yep.
would go to the midway, there would be games and rides over there, and one of the games over there would be where you throw a dart at balloons, and if you popped certain balloons or a certain number of balloons or whatever, you could win a prize. And some of the prizes they had up on the walls were posters.
Oh, yeah.
Posters of Farrah, posters of Cheryl, posters of Lonnie Anderson, whatever.
Right.
And so after seeing you having these things up on your wall, becoming a fan of Charlie's Angels, I got a few posters. I had two of Cheryl Ladd. I have one of Farrah. The swimsuit poster I had of Farrah was not the famous one,
Right.
but
Which
and
is
I
good
started
because mom probably wouldn't have let you put that up anyway.
right, and I started putting these posters up on my wall, and I think I had one of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had like 6 girlish posters up on my wall there in that bedroom, in what used to be, Uncle Bill's bedroom back in the day.
Yep.
And so I had these posters up there. Do you remember those great big bulletin boards that Dad made us?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
they were
I,
huge,
I had one above
and
my desk.
we had different things that we put on those. One time I had this 8x11, just small picture of Cheryl Tiggs in
Hmm.
a very
Yeah, I
uh,
know that one in the light pink
teeny,
bikini.
yeah, in a really teeny bikini,
Yep.
and that's where Mom put her foot down, and
Yeah, I'm
she's like,
sure.
"No, he can't have that," you know. So that one went by the wayside,
Yep.
but I had these other pictures on these walls, and I think one time you had some friends over, and you even brought them in to show my poster collection,
Hmm.
and one of the other things that happened is one time I also had football helmets and pencils. I had a whole collection of NFL stuff. And one time we had a pair of missionaries over there, and whatever, we got on the discussion about stuff, and I took these missionaries up to my bedroom to show them my football helmet collection. And one of the missionaries saw all this soft
Girly
pornography on
posters.
the walls,
Uh-huh.
and he just kind of let my dad have it, and not my dad, but our dad. He just kind of let Dad have it, like,
Yeah.
what? And his companion was just like, chill out, elder. It's
Yep.
like he had a different mindset towards this, but this elder was like, this is awful,
Right.
whatever. I
Yeah.
think Dad was even the bishop at the time. It seemed, at some point
Probably.
he got released there,
I could hear Elder Clark lecturing Dad like that, honestly.
but whoever it was, this missionary just kind of, really kind of let Dad have it. Now, what was interesting, I don't really remember exactly when this happened to Cheryl, but at some point I came home from school one day and all the posters were gone.
Oh, no.
and uh, and so
They didn't
dad,
take my Farrah posters down.
right? So mom, and maybe this missionary had something to do with that. I don't know what was the motivating cause, but all the posters were down, and and at some point thereafter, I found them in Dad's closet. So so
Oh
he didn't
my
take them,
gosh.
throw them
You didn't
away,
throw
and I
them
don't
away, kept them.
like he wasn't going to throw them away, but
Right.
he had to satisfy mom and do something with them and get them off the wall. Um, so that was kind of funny.
Yep.
But I mean, it was really funny. It was really funny, the moral development of our family, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and the background from where both mom and dad came from. And one of the things I would say tonight, I wanted to bring up, is that when this did start falling apart and they started kind of going their separate ways and headed, and we're headed towards divorce after the separation, I, my sense of things was with both set of grandparents were like, okay, this is going to be the end of this Mormon stuff. They're not going to be playing that game anymore. And what a great
Right.
blessing it'll be to get, from Charles' perspective, is I don't need people coming in here making me feel guilty about drinking my alcohol.
Oh yeah. I'm
And
sure that was probably part of it.
and from the Art Hansen perspective, I don't need people coming here challenging my barnyard morality.
Dad had
And
been led astray.
so so I think they both were I think both sets of grandparents, and it was really driven by the grandfathers, not the grandmothers. But
Mm-hmm.
I think both sets of grandparents were really happy in that sense, not to see the breakdown of our family, but to think, okay, this is going to be,
The end of
the
the
end of
Mormon chapter.
this is going to be the end of this nonsense. And
Yep.
that's not how it worked out. That's not how
Nope.
it worked at all.
Nope.
Because they both stayed true to the church, and you and I both did too.
Yep.
Um, but
Most of our siblings have actually.
yeah, and so, but this whole thing with Charlie's Angels was really the beginning of the morality issues there that we all had to work through in ways. And so I don't know how much more, like, there's more that I could say here, and there's more that I want to talk about in my own moral development that I experienced there growing up, because it plays into a larger story, and it plays into how my life changed. and
Hey,
and
I got a yesterday I was at Mike and Sherry Eminetti's 40th wedding anniversary celebration. And guess
yeah,
who was there but Tammy Tibbles?
she told me that. Yeah, Tammy
Yes.
told
So I
me
had a
that.
nice chat with her.
Yeah, but kind of like, tell me how that went, or like what you have to say.
Well, it just she just said that, I said, well, thank you for taking care of my brother while I was gone at college, because obviously he needed a guiding hand kind of thing. And she
Right.
said she had no clue that she had been so instrumental in kind of keeping you on the right track or getting you off the wrong track, as it were.
Yeah.
And she said she's just really glad that she was able to do that for you. She just really didn't remember that she had been that good of an influence. But we just sometimes we don't know that we influence people until years later. Maybe they'll tell us, or yeah. So
It wasn't like she was running me off to the Sorrowful Mother Shrine, or trying to show some big religious thing to me, or
right.
something like that. It wasn't that at all. She
Well, it
just
was an alternative to what you
she
were
just
doing.
yeah, she just pulled me away from hanging out with the other guys, not bad people, but just
No, of
people
course not.
that we were doing bad things together.
Right.
And she just pulled me off, and spent time with me and talked to me, and it just gave me a chance to get my feet back on the ground and realize, you know what, I don't think I want to go down that path. And she was just herself. That's all she was. And it was exactly what I needed. So
So in
anyway,
order to close this up for tonight, I have found the scripture.
okay, yeah, give that to us.
So let's give the little story just in case somebody's just kind of popped in.
Yeah, please.
So my son Joshua was in primary class, which is at LDS is like a Sunday school class for children, and he was supposed to give the scripture that day. So I had given him the scripture to read of Joshua 24:15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And this is one of my favorite scriptures, and it's also one of the reasons my son is named Joshua, because this scripture is in Joshua. So Joshua went to primary and he read an alternate scripture that I guess he thought I had told him to read, which is Judges 1, verses 6 and 7,
Okay.
which is on the same page as Joshua 24:15. It's just on the opposite side. So this says, but Adonai Bezek fled, and they pursued after him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and his great toes. And Adonai Bezek said, 10 kings, having their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table, as I have done. So God hath required me, and they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. So Josh read that in front of a whole bunch of children in primary, thinking, and everybody thought that that was Josh's favorite scripture. So he gets in the car and we're traveling home and he says, Mom, that was a really weird scripture you had me read in primary. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So he read the whole scripture to our car on the way home, and we were all just in
You
tears.
know,
It's still a funny story. In fact, I have thought about cross stitching that for Josh to put on his wall. The one about Adonai Bezek and thumbs and toes cut off.
you could have searched the entire Old Testament and not found a better scripture to create that situation with.
I know. And all the children in primary just sitting there with their mouths open. So I think that's probably the best mistaken scripture story of all. But I really like Tears About Victoria too.
This is what we teach. This is what we teach our kids in
Our
primary.
children, his great thumb and his toes cut off, and oh lordy,
Mutilation. Yes.
mutilation. That's the name of the game here in
Well,
primary.
these days with transition and all those other things, the scripture starts to apply more. So
Yeah, there you go. And
those
and
are-
10 kings having their thumbs and their great toes cut off. Boy, they really went after all those people.
yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Hey, what's on tomorrow night?
Oh, who is on tomorrow night? Let's see. I guess so we're at the end of my junior year. I talked about Pat Waldock, right? So I guess we're going into my senior year, which would probably be Dobie Hay.
Really? Dobie's tomorrow
Yeah.
night. Okay. Well, you're gonna have to put some notes together for that one.
Yeah, Dobie's the long one.
And I'll have a lot of good things to share
Oh,
too.
you know who else was at the little party yesterday? Dobie's
Okay.
older sister, Joanne.
Okay.
And Sherry said to Joanne, that's Dobie's girlfriend, Cheryl, that he used to date in high school. And I came over and said hi to her, and she goes, but I thought you had blonde hair. I'm like, well, I did have blonde hair back then. My hair went brown.
Didn't we
Sorry.
all?
Yeah, right. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll talk tomorrow night about Dobie Haven.
All right. You enjoy your evening with Marty, and we will catch you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Take care.